Alright, welcome to MMO Necromancy, one of the three series we're doing currently, where we look at MMOs that have faced a death and have been relaunched or revived in some way. It's take two. Hopefully, it's as good as take one. For the first game for the series, we're going to look at Earth Eternal. It's a 3D fantasy MMORPG, initially developed by Sparkplay Media, later republished by Sankindo. It was announced on January 10th, 2007. It was released for open beta on October 7th of 2009 under a free-to-play model. However, Sparkplay Media went bankrupt shortly after and auctioned off the game. Sankindo purchased it, but the game server did go offline for non-payment of server bill prior to the purchase. On July 21st, 2011, the game was reopened and scheduled to be re-released in North America in summer of 2011, but the service was shut down again that same year on November 24th, 2011, and has not been available in an official capacity since then. Playing It Forever and a variety of other projects, their derivatives, have emerged since then, resulting in what's currently online, which is Volcal's Shadow version, which is available as a fan mod, community operated version of Earth Eternal, with new lore, new storylines, etc., to help ensure this world of beasts lives on. So the game takes place in an alternative version of Earth, where beasts, your anthropomorphic creatures, and it's one of those games where it appears to be just your simple furry type game. Megan and I actually really enjoyed the game, surprisingly, and will likely come back in the future when it comes back online. While on the surface, it appears to just be a furry-friendly World of Warcraft clone, but if you peek underneath the surface, you'll discover a large, expansive world with comprehensive lore, interesting world-building elements, and somewhat interesting way to do character builds, where you can take some of the skills from other builds to augment your primary build. So we both played druids, but Meg had fire spells from the mage tree and had a full set of healing spells, including resurrection. I had the same, except instead of fire I chose ice, and I took a knight skill as well, a combat skill. We both had bows, we both had a two-hand weapon, and we both had a one-handed weapon with shield. Making it so we could play the game in quite a few different ways depending on the situation we're approaching. There's a 145 page PDF document available. You can get it from the nubianwar.com. That is TheAnubianWar.com. After the game's official closure, additional lore has been written and implemented in the game by the community. So it's actually a quite detailed universe. While some of the lore is missing some polish, some details, could use some fleshing out of some of the creatures and different events that took place. For what it is, it's actually quite interesting. I'll start the discussion of Earth Eternal's lore, with a quote from Archivist Blackthorn, the chief librarian of the Great Library of Camelot. Here can be read the histories of the 4 ages of Earth, as the beasts all know. From the rule of the Titans, including Gaia, the Earth Mother, to the arrival of Jal, the Dark Lord, and the awakening of the gods in the Lost Ages. From the rise of the heroes of the Age of Legend, including Sigmund, Sigurd, Aton, and Sargon, among many others, to major events such as the rise and fall of the Mistarks, the forming and later breaking of the Covenant of Gaia, the rise of the undead and the vampires, the events of the bleakness and the migration, from the rise of man to man's fall at his own hand in the Age of Man, to the return of the beast to Earth and the reclamation, and the events that have since transpired upon Earth in the current age we call the Age of Beasts. So take a seat, dear friends, and enjoy. So yeah, the lore and history involves 4 ages. You have the Lost Ages, which we'll discuss in this video, and the other 3 ages: Age of Legend, Age of Man, and Age of Beasts, which we'll discuss in part 2. The story of the Lost Ages begins and ends with the Titans, powerful beings of raw power. Kronos and his wife Gaia were the leaders of the Titans, beholden with immense powers, including the ability to create new life. The Titans coexisted with numerous other creatures and beings, though they perceived the other beings as being quite lesser, often utilizing them as one would utilize a screwdriver or a hammer at a construction project. You use the tool for the project and just toss it back in the bag when you're done. Their refusal to treat other beings as relative equals, or at least with some modicum of respect, would lead to their eventual downfall. Titans were often at war with other factions and groups, including the Shadow Legion, which very little is known about, and numerous other groups whose names have been lost to history. The Titans were often victorious, with their sheer power overwhelming every other force they came across in the early days of their reign. The Titans were ones to be feared, often utilizing the elemental dragons as transport in the battle, as well as numerous special abilities from the Fairies. In the elemental dragons, you have fire, ice, earth, and air dragons. It would seem the Titans were an unstoppable force, but their unquenchable desire for great power ended up being their downfall. Titans coexisted with a variety of other beings. We already mentioned the Fairies briefly and the elemental dragons. There's also the Cyclops, who were perceived as being kind of the bottom tier of creatures, and they did menial labor tasks. This was very much a one-sided arrangement, beneficial to the Titans, but not for the subjugated beings. The Fairies, the most powerful and skilled of the subjugated groups, held meetings in secret under King Oberon and Queen Titania's leadership to debate their future existence and how to proceed, possibly to construct some sort of plan of overthrowing the authoritarian Titan leaders and gaining independence. When knowledge of these secret meetings became known to the Titan leadership, as well as after witnessing a few fairies act in defiance, Kronos devised a plan to put a stop to this and break the will of the fairies. The perceived source of power of the fairies, at least from the perspective of both the fairies and the Titans, appeared to be derived from one of the most powerful fairies known in the Lost Ages, Algoarna, the Spirit Mother. Kronos sought to break the spirit of the fairies by kidnapping Algoarna and placing her on a comet traveling past Earth, making the comet travel in a straight line away from Earth so that she would never cross Earth's path again. Just in case his action was insufficient, Kronos slaughtered approximately 20% of the total population of the fairies. This was through public executions for a random 1 out of 5 fairies. Fairies felt quite a bit weaker as a whole. not so much because of the loss of many of their brethren, although that did play a role in it, but they believed it was primarily because of the absence of Algalarna. As Algalarna's comet was passing through space, Jal saw an opportunity and hitched a ride. Jal began leeching Algalarna's energy, and once they traveled past Earth, which they happened to travel past Earth because of quite a problem with the trajectory of the comet. Kronos actually didn't make sure it went in a straight line. It actually went in a curved line away from Earth. So yeah, Jal leached her energy to the point that when she passed Earth, she was too weak to get off the comet. Jal, seeing the power of the Titans and the resources, saw a potential opportunity to gain more power. After arriving at Earth, Jal traveled to the inner core, found demons who were young and primitive at the time, which could potentially be used as allies. Jal discovered a Tartaran door, which was a metaphysical door that disallowed passage through, but had a small window to peer through. Jal discovered a key and entered Tartarus. Tartarus was an endless landscape in disarray, cluttered with rock fragments and gray ash. However, within all of this rubble, there was a powerful weapon, the Star Scythe. He killed all in his path to acquire the weapon, and the weapon was so powerful, it managed to tear through the fabric of reality into the realm of Hell, home of the king of demons. And Jal came across each other. Attempted to reach through the rift and grab Jal, or at least strike him, and also grab the Star Scythe. Did manage to get the weapon, but Jal was quick enough to dodge the attack. Jal, realizing how much of a disadvantage he was at, ended up fleeing, going through the Tartaran door and locking it. Jal fled back to the surface, allowed himself to get captured by Gaia and the other Titans. Jal used his high deception skill to strike a deal with the Titans, agreeing to show them how to enter this realm, discussing the powerful weapon that he found. Jal led the Titans to the Tartaran door, allowing them to pass through, but once they all passed through except for a few, he locked the door, with the only way to open the door being from the Earth side. Gaia was skeptical of Jal the whole time, but the others were full of greed and didn't see the obvious trickery he was up to. But at least with Gaia on the Earth side, there's a chance to overthrow this chaotic evil being. Over time, Jal leached away enough power from the Titans, becoming at least an equal to Gaia. Jal began corrupting others on the land and amassed quite a number of followers. It's unsure how many of these were voluntary followers or had been forced into following through some sort of evil force. There was a chance, though. The Titans did place their future leaders in a place called the Nexus Void, a dimension where time does not exist. Gaia went into the Nexus Void and awoke them all in preparation for a battle with Zhal. During this time, the fairies fled to a place near the Nexus Void, seeing a hopeless future in the servitude of being enslaved, regardless of which side won the battle. During the course of this battle, nearly all of the elemental dragons died, given they were utilized as war tools by both sides. After witnessing much of the destruction on Earth, Gaia agreed to strike a deal with the Zhal, and from that point on, both disappeared from the area, at least based on records that are available for the Lost Ages, or the Lost Age. It's believed that Gaia, Zhal, and the Great Mother, Algalarna, are all servants to even greater beings known as the Creator and Demiurge. So yeah, it's an interesting story, but it kind of, reading through this part of the lore, it kind of has a very amateurish feel, like a child wrote a really neat story with this group and that group and these powers, with not enough detail to justify any of them necessarily. It's an interesting story. I actually quite enjoyed reading it. But I spent most of the time wondering where these powers came from, why they had the powers, and who exactly these people were. Were there actually any good guys in this? Even King Oberon and Queen Titania of the Fairies didn't seem to be necessarily wholesome people. And it's easy to want to root for the underdog, which would be the fairies in this case. But had the fairies gained control over the land, would they have actually moved towards more of a system of equality for the governance, or allowed other creatures to govern themselves? Or would it just be a matter of somebody else being on top of the authoritarian system? Perhaps we'll find out as we read through the lore more. I will have a second video where we discuss the other three ages. But yeah, we made it to the late teens in leveling, and then the server went offline and the admin is MIA, and the web tools do not work. So we are waiting for the admin to return to continue our adventure. But hey, luckily there's a lot of documented information on this game. Quite surprising to see so much documentation for a game that's really not popular at all. And now it's time for the seedy underbelly of this game. This is going to be the adult content section, although I'm not going to show any pictures, just so I can keep this not flagged as adult for YouTube. This is part of 3 games we chose to do back to back to back, which were 3 games which on the surface appear to be geared towards kids. However, when you really get involved in the community, there's a lot of very not child-friendly groups within. I should start by saying that every interaction I had with players in this community, regardless of any affiliation with other subgroups within the community, were all positive. A lot of great people in this community. Nice, small, close-knit community that's very welcoming to outsiders. But yeah, there's a seedy subgroup within this game that does the anthropomorphic adult imagery, if you get what I'm saying. And perhaps if I find a platform where I can post materials that are a bit more adult oriented. I can show off some of the artwork. It's actually really a lot of really good artists there, even though even though the subject material of their work is not really something I'm into. Not into at all. But yeah, this game has 18 different anthropomorphic races or species you can play as. I was a crow, not sure of the exact name. Well, Meg played as an owl. It was called something else. And I also had a frog creature. So yeah, we'll discuss more of this game in detail in part 2. But hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, and as time goes on, I'll get a better camera and these videos will become much more polished. Have a great day. And like I said, go to the Nubian War if you'd like to check out the game.